You can have the fastest internet plan in your city and still get beaten by someone on a slower connection, not because their hardware is better, not because they have some secret setup, but because they understand something most people don't. Faster internet and lower latency are not the same thing. Today, we're going to fix that confusion for good. Let's start with an analogy, because this is one of those concepts that clicks instantly once you see it the right way. Imagine a garden hose. Bandwidth is the width of that hose, how much water can flow through it at once. A wider hose moves more water per second, that's bandwidth, more data per second. A higher number on your internet plan. Latency is something completely different. Latency is how long it takes the very first drop of water to travel from one end of the hose to the other. That has almost nothing to do with how wide the hose is. A wide hose with a long winding path through 3 rooms still delivers that first drop later than a narrow hose with a short, straight run. You can make the hose as wide as you want and 100 times wider, and the first drop still takes the same amount of time to arrive if the path length hasn't changed. That's the core of it. Bandwidth is throughput, volume per second. Latency is delay, time to first response. They're measuring completely different things, and upgrading one does almost nothing for the other. Now let's apply this directly to trading, because that's where people get confused most often. When you upgrade your home internet from 100 megabits per second to 1 gigabit per second, you've made your hose 10 times wider. That's a real improvement for a lot of things. Downloading large files is faster, video calls are smoother, streaming in 4K stops buffering, but your order still has to travel the same physical distance to your broker's server. The routing path through the internet hasn't changed. The number of hops your data makes between routers hasn't changed. The processing time on your broker's server hasn't changed. So your order confirmation doesn't arrive noticeably faster. The price tick on your chart doesn't update noticeably sooner, because the bottleneck was never the width of the pipe, it was the length of the path. This is why 2 traders can be in the same building, one on a gigabit plan and one on a basic 50 megabit plan, and see almost identical responsiveness on their trading platforms. The difference in bandwidth between them is enormous. The difference in latency is almost nothing. That said, bandwidth does matter for traders, just not where most people assume. Here's where it actually shows up. If you're running a professional-grade trading setup with multiple live charts updating simultaneously, a full Level 2 order book streaming in real time, options chains refreshing tick by tick, and multiple data feeds running alongside each other, that is a bandwidth problem. You're consuming a large and continuous volume of data, and a constrained connection will struggle to keep all of it flowing smoothly at once. Think of it like this. You don't need a wide hose to send one quick message, but if you're trying to spray water in 10 directions at the same time, the width of the hose suddenly matters a lot. For most retail traders running 1 or 2 charts and placing orders manually, the bandwidth requirement is genuinely modest. Your trades are small, occasional bursts of data, tiny messages, not continuous streams. A basic broadband connection handles that comfortably. Where bandwidth becomes a real factor is in data-intensive setups, and even there it's usually a secondary concern behind connection stability. Here's a simple self-diagnosis framework I want you to walk away with, because it'll save you a lot of time the next time something feels off with your platform. Ask yourself, what exactly does slow feel like? If your platform feels delayed when you click a button, you click buy, and there's a visible pause before anything happens, that's a latency issue. The round trip between your click and the server's response is taking too long. The fix lives in connection type, physical distance, or server load, not in upgrading your internet plan. If your platform is slow to load large amounts of data, the order book takes a long time to populate, multiple charts stutter when the market opens, historical data downloads drag. That's more likely a bandwidth or processing issue. More data is being requested than your connection can comfortably deliver at once. And if your platform randomly freezes for a second and then snaps back to normal, That's almost certainly a jitter issue, not a bandwidth or average latency issue. Jitter is something we're going to cover specifically in day 20, but the short version is it's inconsistency in your latency, not the latency itself, and it has its own distinct causes and fixes. Matching the symptom to the right category is half the battle. Most people treat all three as the same problem and reach for the same solution, usually restarting the app, when the actual fixes are completely different. So the practical takeaway from today is this: stop optimizing the wrong thing. Most retail traders who feel like their platform is slow immediately think about their internet speed. They upgrade their plan, see the download speed number go up, and wonder why nothing feels different. Now you know why. If you want to meaningfully improve your trading platform's responsiveness, focus on latency first. Switch from Wi-Fi to Ethernet, reduce the number of hops between you and your broker's servers, and make sure no other device on your network is consuming bandwidth in a way that's introducing congestion and instability. If you genuinely need more bandwidth because you're running a data-intensive multi-feed setup, then a faster plan is worth it. But for the vast majority of retail traders, the bandwidth on even a basic broadband connection is nowhere near the actual bottleneck. Let's recap. Bandwidth is the width of the hose, how much data flows through per second. Latency is how long the first drop takes to arrive. They measure different things, they have different causes, and they have different fixes. Upgrading your internet plan improves bandwidth. It does almost nothing for latency. And for most trading scenarios, latency is what actually matters. Next up, the actual rulebook your data follows to make sure it doesn't get lost in transit. TCP versus UDP. Two completely different approaches to sending data across a network, and trading apps use both of them on purpose. Subscribe so you don't miss it.